Hey everyone, Kate and I are taking a little break this week, so we are bringing you one of our most popular episodes. And as always, remember, when you're done listening, rate and review us. Literally look down at your screen when you are done listening to the episode and rate and review us. Thanks for listening.
So I went to a Mexican place last night.
Really?
Yes. And I had something I'd never had before, which was carnitas fajitas.
Carnitas fajitas, okay.
Yeah. So fajitas, obviously, you are familiar with, but carnitas, you might not be because you don't eat meat. They're pork that I don't even know how it's cooked, actually, because when it's done properly, it's got like a crispy outside, the chunks of pork, but then they sort of fall apart, like they just sort of melt, but it's got that wonderful tenderness and crispiness at the same time, and it's been braised or something in cooking liquid that's seasoned really beautifully. And so I had fajitas made of that, and it was really, really great.
Nice. You know, the only time I ever want to eat meat again is when you describe it. It's sort of true. I'm like, oh, I should eat meat again. Kate makes it sound so good. What's funny, though,
I'll try to make vegetables sound good, too.
Please. You and I are so often on the same cycle. I wonder if we lived in the same house, would we sync up? No, that's just a myth. But I also went to Mexican, and I got my traditional vegetable fajitas, right? Because I don't eat meat, as many of you know. Vegetable fajitas were fine, but then I also got a bowl of vegetarian beans. You know, and I always try the beans, like just like a fork and a couple of beans. I'm like, oh, these are really tasty. And I kept eating them and kept eating them. Uh-oh. I know exactly. I put my fork all the way down in the beans to get a big old mouthful. And what do I pull up? Like a deboned chicken bone at the bottom of my beans.
A chicken bone?
Tough times, Kate.
I was expecting you to say a piece of like ham hock or something, a piece of pork that they actually cook in the beans. A chicken bone?
Yes, if only it had been ham hock. My poor friend I was with was so mortified because I got so angry and I went off and I said, I want to speak to the manager. I want to talk to someone right now. So the manager came out, long story short. You know what his explanation was? That they debone chicken and then they throw the chicken bones across the kitchen into the trash can, and he guesses it landed in a pot of beans.
Oh, well, good thing he explained that.
I feel much better.
At least there's a reasonable explanation.
Yeah, you wouldn't want any chaos around that, would you?
So we know where not to go back for Mexican.
Pretty much. Welcome to another episode of You Won't Believe What I Ate Last Night. I am Rick Fiore.
And I'm Kate DeVore.
And this is our ongoing conversation about food, health, weight management, and our endeavor to be and stay healthy in a really tasty world.
With love, kindness, and compassion towards ourselves and others.
Today, we are talking about fad diets through the ages. Which ones we've done, which ones we've not done, and one of the craziest ones ever.
Which I honestly had never heard about until Rick told me about it during this recording, and all I'm going to say is it involves something completely inedible and sort of vaguely horrifying.
We'll leave it at that. Also, we have our first listener call into the show.
Yay!
Which all of you can now do. Be part of our show. Send your questions or tell us what you ate last night, how you felt about it, and more importantly, how you feel about it now.
Send us a recording either straight from an iPhone or an MP3 and email it to us. Enjoy the show.
Listen, I've been desperate to talk to you.
Yes, I'm so glad we're here.
Have you heard about the latest fad diet to come out of... This was reported in the Herald Down Under, Sydney Herald, from our friends down in Australia. For any of you listening, This comes from your Herald.
Excellent. No, I don't think so.
Stay tuned. It's coming your way. So here's what the article says. It says that health experts have warned against crazy fad diets for years, blah, blah, blah. That's something we all know. But here's the latest fad diet. Eating orange juice-soaked cotton balls.
Oh, come on.
No, Kate, I'm serious. Eating orange juice-soaked cotton balls. What is one supposed to do with that? It's in the same article about people that do...
Is that all you eat? Is that the entire diet?
Apparently so. And you drink lots of lemon water.
Are you serious? That's it?
Yeah.
What do they say to make that seem like a good idea?
Nothing. It's by this... It's being done by teenage girls. And so I have several questions about this because I haven't found more information on it, but I want to. And I'm going to our next podcast. So there's a dentist who's quoted in this article because Obviously, when you have that much acid in your food, you're losing tons and tons of calcium, and it's stripping away all that veneer from your teeth. And people are losing it. Some teenage girls have lost numerous teeth because of this diet.
You can't even call it a diet. You're eating cotton balls. That is not a food.
Right?
I don't understand the cotton part. Like, is it just, do you suck on the cotton balls and get all the orange juice out and then spit them out? Or do you actually ingest the cotton?
I'm assuming, here's the thing, the article doesn't say. It seems as though you ingest the cotton. And at first I thought, well, that's really odd. But then I have 2 Chihuahuas, and I think about how much they shed and how much of their dog hair actually winds up in my water and my food. I'm like, I've probably, digested easily a cotton ball of dog hair over my lifetime.
Well, yeah, but not on purpose and not as a lifestyle choice.
Oh, totally, but simply as a function of the system. Clearly my system can process dog hair over time.
Well, I think anyone that eats in a restaurant ever can't be too put off by anything, because God knows what all we've etten from restaurant kitchens,
Kate, you're so
I don't
true.
even want to think about it.
It's amazing we're not sicker from eating out in restaurants.
Oh my God, totally. So it's not that part. It's just why? I'm sure we can handle the cotton, although God knows, is that what does it do in your bowels? I mean, it just seems your digestive system, and although cotton balls are so fluffy, but still.
These are the many questions that lie ahead of us.
Do we know how many of them we're supposed to eat in a day?
No. Because my producer handed me this just before we went on air. And I see. And I thought, oh, this is a really great, funny thing to talk about. But we're going to have to do more research. Janice, can you get on that? Next time we go on, I want to make sure that we have enough information to back up this article before you hand me something. Listen, I don't want to hear it. I don't care that your mother's sick. So teen girls in some parts of the country, some as young as 14, have tried the cotton ball diet promoted as creating a calorie-free feeling of fullness and posted their experiences on social media. So there's a link where you can go to check out what they've said.
Oh, so the cotton fills you up. Yeah. It just doesn't have calories.
Following these
that's
reports,
probably true. There's just no nutrition involved. Wow.
This is what I love. Following these reports, health experts said this dietary practice was dangerous.
Well, thank God the experts got on board.
Because I was
and
about
weighed
ready to try
in. Because I was thinking, well, that sounds like a good idea. At least the experts are here to tell us it's dangerous to eat cotton. And nothing else.
Okay, so a fad diet. University of Newcastle professor in nutrition and dietetics Claire Collins said the best way to spot a fad is when it has crazy ideas. Usually it's something you could not sustain long time, like eating cotton wool soaked in orange juice, says Dr. Collins.
For example.
Let's just bring that one up.
Or not eating fruit, Atkins, or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
So, Simply Women's Wellness Life coach Lisa Mills said the cotton ball diet was apparently started by international models. Like any diet, it would probably permeate down to vulnerable teenagers and young women, which is pretty sad because it's a scary thing to do. Interesting.
I am without words.
What fad diets have you done in your life?
None.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You're
so
the
lucky.
whole time, I've been so overweight so much of my life. And as I believe I never really tried to do anything about it. It wasn't one of those things, I wasn't one of those heavy people who was always trying to lose weight and always talking about it. Wow. I was one of those heavy people who just pretended it wasn't there.
Looking back, I get that, but I actually never put that together. Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I never talked about it. I never really tried to do anything about it. Mm-hmm. And on the few occasions where I did try to do anything about it, it worked. Eat less, move more. That's all you ever have to do. That is the only answer to weight loss is eat less, move more than what you're currently doing. That's it. It's not a complicated thing.
What if you
and eat some cotton. Right.
I was just going to say, what if you eat less, move more to go get more cotton balls to soak them in orange juice? Does that count?
Exactly. Absolutely.
Great.
If you don't need any, muscle tone or functionality of your organs, I'm sure eating just cotton is fine.
Because what international supermodels really need their organs or muscle tone, to be quite honest?
Well, it's also interesting, I guess if I were making that much money, I might be willing to sacrifice my health to do it. Maybe. Mm-hmm. Or I could see more of a logic to that than just a random high school girl.
True.
Being willing to, for nothing, for what, I mean, it's so sad.
It's tough times.
Tough times.
When I was 13, I was on the Scarsdale diet.
I was going to ask you, what have you done? Scarsdale. Which one was that? I forget.
That was the one by Dr. Scarsdale, and Jean Turnauer was his wife, and Jean Turnauer, his wife, is the one
shot him, right?
Right? Totally.
Yeah.
It's a really great Lifetime movie. And
so that I know that he got killed for it, but I don't remember what the diet was.
So my mother put me on that diet. My mother bought me this book and told me to go on this diet. And at the first, I'm like, okay, I guess it's awesome. And this is when I'm 13. When I remember, when I look back at photos of myself at 13, I am not fat. I'm definitely chub, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so all I really remember from the diet is I remember that the mornings would always consist of a piece of wheat bread, toasted with nothing on it, and half of a grapefruit. Now,
the worst thing ever.
I hate grapefruit.
I hate grapefruit too.
Which I never liked. To this day, I still don't like, but yet.
It's the only fruit I don't like.
I mean, what is a grapefruit about?
Bitter. Some people like bitter.
Mm-hmm. I have several friends that do.
Yeah. well, that's another topic for another day, is our bitter friends. However, yeah. I mean, grapefruit with a ton of sugar, I still don't even like. I just don't love it. I know. Right. I remember that half a grapefruit thing. That was super popular in the 80s.
And then I remember opening up my lunch container at school, and it would be a Tupperware container, and lying in the Tupperware container would be a slice of cheddar cheese, a slice of provolone cheese, and then like a slice of ham and a slice of salami.
That's it?
Yeah. I don't remember eating anything else. So
well, there's protein, but I don't even understand the premise.
That also already seems similar to somehow, I was going to say it's like the South Beach diet or the Atkins diet, but not completely, because on Atkins, you're not supposed to eat any of the bread. But then
no carbs.
Cheese,
you couldn't have the grapefruit or the bread on Atkins.
Yeah. Did you ever do Atkins or South Beach?
No.
I did Atkins.
Wow.
What else did I do?
I'm sure it works. I just find my intuition has always been the best thing to do is to eat relatively small amounts of healthy food. That's always been my instinct. And so this other thing has always seemed like none of it seems like a good idea to me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
For whatever reason, I always was like, well, just losing weight for that. Like, I think I always saw the temporariness of it. I always saw ahead to, yes, maybe I would lose weight on it. I would suffer. And yes, I would lose some weight. To no end. I wouldn't be healthier. I would undoubtedly gain it back. Like, there was just no point.
That's a really great word, the temporariness of it all.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good.
So we're really excited because we have our first ever listener comment we're about to play for you. Please send us comments and questions.
You too can be this famous.
Hey there, this is Rebecca calling from Atlanta, just giving you some feedback on diets. So since the age of about 15, I've done pretty much any diet you can think of. I was thinking back, did the Scarsdale diet where you ate like grapefruit and cottage cheese, did the cabbage soup GM diet, which basically is a diuretic and really good for constipation, but not lasting results. Did Jenny Craig, I literally cut my tongue licking a can of tuna salad because it was like an ounce portion, and I was in college and I was desperately trying to lose weight for a show. I did Weight Watchers and I realized I don't like math. I did the South Beach diet. I got through phase 2 and I became really cranky. It's amazing how many. The Atkins diet, you just don't poop. If you're okay with that, then you can lose some weight. It's just, you gotta take something for the other problem. I did a diet where you slept more. That didn't do a whole lot, but my skin looked great. The times that I've really lost weight and kept it off have been when I keep myself accountable for the exchange of calories and exercise. So like a fitness app, like the Fitness Pal, I lost 60 pounds doing that and going to spin class. But then I had a baby, and now I use the fitness app and I use an activity tracker built into my iPhone, and I just tuck my phone into my bra and I get my stroller and we walk 3 to 5 miles a day. Because I had some abdominal muscle issues after I had the baby, I can't do CrossFit and stuff like that anymore. I find that the biggest struggle with food is I always go back to the idea that comfort foods, baked goods, and sweets are a treat or a reward for myself, and I've learned to supplement that with giving myself more water. I read a great book called Bringing Up Bebe, which was about raising French kids. And they talked about how French women don't ever seem to look pregnant right after they've had the baby. They look like supermodels. And one of the best pieces of advice they said was, instead of indulging, have yourself a glass of water or a carrot or an apple. And I thought, man, when I was pregnant, I ordered a cookie cake that said happy baby with as much frosting as they could fit on the cake because I thought I earned it by being pregnant. Our society has a warped view of how food relates to our body. And as women, we have a warped view because food becomes almost a sort of prayer. You go out with your girlfriends for, a rich, flavorful meal. And sometimes maybe it's better to say, hey, let's get together and go to the market and buy fresh fruit and sit by a lake. I mean, not to feed into too many stereotypes here, but we do equate food with happiness. And I work with cancer patients who can't eat. And one of the constant themes is, when can I sit down with my family again? Or you hear of spouses hiding because they're embarrassed to eat in front of their loved one. Food is a big part of who we are and our culture, and the battle with weight is constant. I don't ever think it's something that you win or lose, but I do make it a point to pay attention to hunger cues. And as I feed my daughter, I try to instill that in her, because as she begins to develop a relationship with food, I want that to be a healthy one. I hope that helps your discussion, and I really enjoy listening to your podcast. I do tune in. Thanks.
Okay, so Kate, one of the most interesting fad diets I read about was, did you hear about the tapeworm diet?
Yes, I did.
Doesn't that sound tasty?
Oh my God. Yeah, the parasite diet, I saw it called in the 90s. It came about.
Exactly. And it said that Maria Callas was rumored to have done this diet. And I just love how it's basically a parasite that basically works its way through your system.
Yeah, you allow a tapeworm into your digestive system, because when you actually get tapeworms, you lose weight because they suck all the nutrients from you. So that's the thinking. Yeah.
Yum. Can you imagine? Like, I really often wonder, because you see, all those shows on like the science channels where they actually show all these terrible parasites in your system.
Yeah.
And then the idea of them eating your way through all of your intestines, it just makes me so upset.
Oh, it's deeply upsetting. Yeah. Several of these are actually traumatizing, I think. But starting back at the first one that I found in the history is a vinegar diet, which was from 1820, which I think is interesting because now there's this huge apple cider vinegar craze, right? So it's come back around, I think, in a lot of ways. And when I was in, I think it was Turkey, I was in some ancient underground city that was thousands of years old. And one of the sort of troughs they had there supposedly was where they kept the vinegar, which was one of the most important things because it was a disinfectant. It was, I can't remember what else, but it was sort of like if you could only have one or two things on a desert island, apparently vinegar would be one of them because it's so useful in so many ways.
Wow. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever, in the 1920s, there's also this thing called Ready for a Lucky instead of a sweet. Have you heard about that one where you smoke cigarettes?
Yeah.
Now, I never smoked cigarettes, but I always wished I had because they always seem so thin.
Yeah. And apparently they were touting the nicotine weight loss thing to try to make it more acceptable for women to smoke. So that was one of Lucky Strike's many campaigns, right? Was Reach for a Lucky, the cigarette diet.
You can trust cigarette companies too. I'm sure it was good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then in the 1930s, there was the grapefruit diet, which circled back around, didn't it, with Scarsdale?
Yes, totally.
Mm-hmm.
My nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever do, you didn't do anything. I've asked you that before, but the cabbage soup diet, so many people I knew actually did that, but I could not bear the idea of eating just plain cabbage soup all the time.
It's funny because it came about in the 50s and then it did cycle back around in the 90s, didn't it? I remember, I think I have a Xerox copy, an old faded Xerox copy in my recipes of the cabbage soup that was supposed to be like the amazing cabbage soup for this particular diet. But I wonder if there's something to it. I wonder if there's a fermenting, I guess cabbage isn't fermented, but it's, I don't suppose it was a fermented soup, but there's a lot of fermented foods now in the microbiome diet, which is more current now. That speaks to the whole environment of the gut and the organisms and the bacteria in our gut and keeping that healthy so we don't get leaky gut system and so that we can generally have a healthy environment for stuff. And I know that fermentation is something that's applauded in that diet.
It's all about the gut nowadays.
It is. It is. In the 70s, there was the Sleeping Beauty diet.
I love the Sleeping Beauty diet.
Which is that you're supposed to sleep as much as possible, even if it involves sedatives, because if you're asleep, you can't eat.
I mean, it solves a lot of problems.
And we actually heard Rebecca talk about that. She tried that and, surprisingly, did not work so well.
Elvis was rumored to have been doing this, the Sleeping Beauty diet.
Yeah, I wonder about that.
In 1975, my favorite, which I would love to try, is the cookie diet. Where cookies are made with amino acids. And it's all about getting as many as amino acids in. But I can't remember what the amino acids did. Do you?
No. And the cookie diet I saw was actually from the 2000s. I don't know if it was the same one or not.
Oh, wow.
But in that case, they had very specific cookies that you bought, and you were supposed to eat 9 of them a day, plus one meal a day of 500 to 700 calories.
Sounds like heaven to me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's all the sugar just desiccates your system. Maybe that's what helps you lose weight.
Yeah. I wonder, I mean, when they say cookie, I wonder if they're really using that loosely. Fad diets through the ages. In the 70s, of course, Scarsdale came up, which was 1,000 calories a day, 43% protein, 22.5% fat, 34.5% carbs. Seems to me like 1,000 calories a day of almost anything would cause weight loss.
And starvation. Trust me, I know.
Mm-hmm. And then shortly on the heels of that was the fruitarian movement, which actually Jason Robel mentioned, I think, in our podcast that was our last episode, people who eat just fruit.
In the 70s, there's also is when SlimFast came around for the first time, which I did. I did SlimFast. I remember 67 since I was 10, and I don't remember why I was drinking. So that means I was 10 years old and drinking. Well, I don't know if that's when it came out. But I do remember at some point going into school with SlimFast in my lunchbox.
Wow.
The little straw. And the thing is, you weren't able to refrigerate your lunches at school, so it just sat on a counter. So it was warm SlimFast.
That sounds awesome. What flavor?
Strawberry is all I remember. And vanilla. And I hated vanilla less than I hated strawberry. And it would just suck up through that straw, all warm and nasty.
I remember drinking warm strawberry milk even, like just Nestle's Quick strawberry milk when I was a kid in England. My grandmother would serve it and they didn't have a refrigerator. And so I would have warm strawberry milk, and it was not my favorite. So I can imagine that warm strawberry SlimFast would be really not my favorite either.
And no one ever made fun of me because of it.
God, no. That would be a really cool thing. And I bet everyone wanted to trade.
Trade? I remember trading lunches.
SlimFast would have been a really big one, I bet.
People were lining up to get my SlimFast. My God, Kate. Just in. Listen, we just got a posting on our Facebook page live during the show.
How amazing. Let's take a look. This is actually not at all true. We did not just get a posting live, and it's also on my personal Facebook page, not the podcast page. So unfortunately, we can't direct you to it. But I did ask the question, what fad diets have you tried, and do you have an opinion, positive or negative, about them? And we did get some responses.
My favorite one is someone who says, I did the South Beach diet, where in our house it quickly devolved into the South Bitch. It made you cranky, but it worked. However, it was also impossible to maintain.
And that has been a theme with these, is that they're impossible to maintain. My favorite is somebody who spent 1 month as a Buddhist monk and had 1 meal a day with copious walking, chanting, and meditation, and he lost 16 pounds. And I happen to know that he was in Thailand when he did that, so there you go.
See, that's what I want to go to Thailand for, to lose weight. That's the only reason I've ever wanted to go.
Yeah, there you go. Just become a monk. That sounds like an easy solution. I don't know if that's considered a fad diet. And I also like somebody else's who says the master cleanse would be fabulous if I could add vodka in a cheeseburger.
Vodka and a cheeseburger solves a lot of problems. Gotta love it.
She's actually right. The Master Cleanse, I realized I have done a fad diet. Since you asked me before, I said no. I realized I have done, but not really. And the Master Cleanse is the lemon juice, maple syrup, and cayenne pepper. And I have actually added that into a really raw food cleansy period for a week or two when I was
Nice.
doing some sort of purification, and it's really delicious. I actually really liked it a lot. Yeah, I have no idea if it wasn't particularly for weight loss. It was for cleansing. I was just trying to be as clean as possible, and I gave it a shot. I have no idea whether it worked or not.
Nice. All right. I have one word for you, Kate.
What's that?
Dexatrim. I did Dexatrim.
Did you really?
I did. And I don't even remember how I got it, because I remember it being illegal for young people to buy it because it's obviously a stimulant. And then I remember taking it to school, and basically I felt like I was popping pills because I knew it was wrong, that I shouldn't be doing it for someone my age to be doing it, because I probably was like 14 or 15. So I just remember sneaking around the Catholic school, and then like after lunch, before we went out to recess, popping one out of my pocket and throwing it in and hope no one saw it.
You druggie.
Well, you know me, Kate. I'm big on the drugs.
Yeah. Well, in 2004, no, I know exactly. He's not. That's the joke. But in 2004, they banned ephedra, which was, I think, what was in it. And I actually looked into this, and now Dexatrim still exists, as does Hydroxycut. Remember Hydroxycut?
Hydroxycut, I do.
And they both still exist, but from what I can tell, they're now made mostly of herbs, caffeine, and chemicals is basically what it looks like.
Oh, wow.
But they seem to now not at least kill you. Speaking of fad diets that kill you, my favorite is breatharianism or aeritarianism, which
I remember that.
Yeah, a spiritual practice where people literally survive on air. They don't eat or even drink water for a long period of time, and there have been a number of deaths reported from that. Do you remember that vegetarian restaurant in Prague? They actually talked about aeritarianism on their menu.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
I remember that. Mm-hmm. We'll have to put that name up there. When we were in Prague, we found one of the best vegetarian restaurants ever.
Oh, it was so good.
And we can't really talk about fad diets without the maha of fad diets, Oprah's liquid diet. Remember that?
Oh, right. What was it, though? Do you know?
All I know, it was liquid. I think it was just juices and waters and soup. Well, it couldn't have been. It had to be really sort of low calorie. But all I remember is she came out saying she'd been on a liquid diet forever, right? Hauling that wagon of fat with all the fat she lost. Which I don't even remember how much it was at this point. She wanted to fit into her like particular size Calvin Klein jeans.
Right.
And she did on that day. She came out and she was in these tiny, tiny Calvin Klein jeans.
Yeah. I think it was a medically supervised one, because I have a friend who actually listens to this podcast who did a medically supervised radical weight loss thing, and it involved, I think, primarily liquid as well.
Oh,
so
interesting.
I think that's what Oprah did. I think it was actually a specific thing that a clinic gives you.
So what's so funny about that is I remember her saying on that show is that she did that show. She went out that night with everyone to celebrate, and she just ate this huge meal and just kept eating one meal after the other right then, and it just obviously came right back on. But we love you, Oprah.
Yes, we do. We also had the Pritikin diet in the 80s, which
What's that one? I don't know that one.
Pritikin was low fat, high carb. So I don't think it stuck around very long. So it was basically unlimited things like pasta and potatoes, but actually no fat. So really not particularly, I think, sound.
Right. There's also the Zone.
Oh yeah.
Remember the Zone?
I forgot
Everyone's
about
talking
the
about getting in the
Zone.
Zone.
What is that?
That it's a very specific combination, a ratio of carbs, fat, and protein.
Oh, so is that like the food combining?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know that was one as food combining. There was also the blood type diet.
Oh, I remember the blood type. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The baby food diet, I'm a fan of.
Oh, totally. Oh, there's something comforting about the baby food diet.
Fad diets through the ages. I also was a real big fan of learning about the Daniel plan. Did you find that one in your research?
What is that?
It's apparently about following the diet of young Hebrew men in the book of Daniel.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So in some ways, I think it's akin to paleo in that it's looking back and trying to recreate what people ate at another time.
I get it. So I'm just sitting here shaking my head.
Yep.
Yeah. Staring at Kate.
And I think there's undoubtedly also a spiritual element to that one as well, unlike a lot of these other ones. Breatharianism has that, I guess.
Remember your friend, what is her name? Your friend, Gwyneth Paltrow? She really made famous the Macrobiotic Diet. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I also remember that as the beginning of her downfall when everyone started to hate her.
Yes.
right?
I guess so. Yeah.
And still hate her.
Yeah,
For some
I don't
inexplicable reason.
follow that stuff so much. But yes, I know. I think I always get the feeling she gets a bad rap somehow, but I don't really know.
She does. And then they really jumped on board. Remember when she got divorced? What did she call it? Oh, conscious uncoupling. That was the new phrase, which is a really beautiful phrase.
I love that, actually. Yeah, I think she can do no right at this point is kind of my feeling.
Pretty much. But she's making a fortune with her website, so there you go.
Yeah, that's called Goop, is that right?
Goop?
Uh-huh. There we go. See, I know some things.
You know some cultural things.
I know a few things. Speaking of those, I had thought that the DASH diet was a fad diet, but then when I looked it up, I saw that it's actually for reducing sodium. It's a low sodium diet.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good because I just thought the DASH diet was something the Kardashians created.
It does sound like that. And the Kardashians are one of those names that I know. I know those people are famous, but I don't actually know why or what they look like.
And trust me, it's really great that you don't know that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that actually. Yeah.
No brain space needed to be taken up with that.
Yeah, totally. Right. So paleo is a very trendy fad diet, which is supposedly about eating like cavemen did. Although a lot of people say that ancient humans were mostly vegetarian and had occasional protein, and that a lot of that came from insects. I don't think they were out hunting salami and brie, but
which funny enough, I do go out hunting a good brie.
Oh, I certainly do. Absolutely. So yeah, but so paleo is about reducing particular types of carbs. It seems really.
Right. In 2006, I remember reading about the Beyonce diet, which is really just hot tea and lemon juice and cayenne pepper.
Oh, so it's similar to the Master Cleanse, right? And there's also something called the Hollywood Miracle Diet, which is basically a juice fast. Let's see what else. Atkins, of course, which is low carb, not sustainable because it cuts out whole food groups is the general wisdom on that. Oh,
I did Atkins.
Yeah, you did. And how'd that go?
You know, I lost a lot of weight because part of the whole thing is what you do is how you eat. You get into this state called ketosis, where a lot of weight loss happens, but ketosis is not meant to be sustained for an extraordinarily long period of time. So it actually can be sort of damaging. One
of my favorite current ones is the Beverly Hills diet plan, which consists of 8 ounces of prunes for breakfast, unlimited strawberries for lunch, and a baked potato for dinner.
You know,
and
too much to take.
The comment about that on the website where I got this information was, it's very low in calories and not recommended. So in case anyone out there was thinking that sounded like a good idea, we're going to suggest maybe not so much.
Put the prunes down.
The Whole30 is another current big one.
Which
right?
one is that? I didn't.
The Whole30. It's basically a 30-day cleanse. It's 30 days of super clean eating, with the idea being to reset your metabolism and get a new relationship with food. No grains, sugar, dairy, alcohol, legumes, stuff like that. Dr. Oz shows up in these as well. Not necessarily that one, but he had a lot of fad diets going on.
Right.
There's one last thing I want to talk about, which is HGC, called human chorionic gonadotropin.
Easy for you to say.
It is, which is a hormone that is either taken through injections or a spray or something. And somebody on our Facebook page has had really good results with that as well. So the basic summary of everybody and everything is that while any of these things could potentially lead to weight loss, they're not likely to lead to maintaining that weight loss, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not necessarily any type of sustained health in the long run.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, enjoy and eat healthily, people.
Okay, here is our big takeaway. This is just a great reminder that any way you decide to lose and manage weight loss has to be sustainable. Something you can and want to do for an extended period of time, say like your entire life.
Yeah, not to be depressing. Yeah, but diets are by their nature temporary and can certainly lead to weight loss. You can lose weight in a bazillion ways, but maintenance is a whole different thing, which we'll talk more about in a future episode. So speaking of future episodes, please subscribe on iTunes and on YouTube and review us and let us know what you think. Look at our Facebook page, like us on Facebook. We post stuff every day and it's fun and interesting, And we also have an awesome webpage with stuff related to the podcast at youwon'tbelievewhatIate.com.
And join us for our next episode about the effects of stress on our weight and some of the contributing factors in our culture.
Good way to put it.